Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a biological mystery that literally affects almost every single one of us. You know the feeling you're chronically exhausted but completely unable to sleep? Well, think of your nervous system not just as some random network of wires, but as a highly advanced and honestly sometimes slightly miscalibrated piece of survival technology. It's the master switch governing your sleep architecture, your cellular recovery, and really your overall longevity. But in our modern world, this system is under relentless siege. So let's dive right in and actually decode this biological master switch.
It's a pretty profound question when you stop and think about it, right? Why does your body forget how to rest, even when you're utterly bone-tired exhausted? You're lying in bed, you're totally drained, yet your mind is racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and your heart is just pounding. Look, this modern epidemic of feeling tired but wired is absolutely not a personal failing. It is a deeply ingrained physiological response. Your body is doing exactly what it evolved to do when it's under threat. The problem? The threat isn't a saber-toothed tiger anymore. It's an endless stream of emails, looming deadlines, and psychological pressure. To understand why your body mechanically forgets how to power down, we really have to look at the communication hub running the entire show.
Imagine a vivid, sprawling network of glowing neural pathways inside of you. When you're safe and secure, picture those pathways glowing in this cool, calming blue light. This is your parasympathetic nervous system. It's your rest and digest mode, the system that actively controls your cellular recovery, your deep sleep, and it literally puts the brakes on systemic inflammation. But under stress, that whole network shifts to a fiery, burning red. That's your sympathetic nervous system, better known as fight, flight, or freeze. It mobilizes glucose, it spikes your alertness, it gets you ready for action. The biological trade-off here is that our modern high-stress environment keeps that red alert glowing almost constantly, which completely blocks the cellular repair you desperately need.
To see exactly how that red alert functions in real time, we have to map out a rapid biological cascade known as the HPA axis. Think of this as your body's ultimate stress thermostat, or honestly, more like an overzealous smoke detector that goes off every single time you burn a piece of toast. It all starts with perception. Your hypothalamus detects a threat and instantly releases a hormone called CRH. That triggers your pituitary gland to shoot ACTH right into your bloodstream. Just minutes later, your adrenal glands receive that exact signal and pump out cortisol, your primary mobilization hormone. It's an incredibly elegant chain of command, but it was designed for short, sharp pulses. Spike, resolve, recover. But what actually happens when the stress never resolves? Well, there is a massive myth we need to bust right here and now. You've probably heard the buzzword adrenal fatigue, right? This idea that your tired adrenal glands just sort of run out of cortisol. Actually, the science shows that's completely false. What's really happening is a phenomenon called glucocorticoid receptor resistance. Your adrenal glands aren't exhausted at all. Instead, the signaling receptors in your brain have completely lost their calibration. The negative feedback loop literally just stops working, and this leads to this sustained flood of stress hormones washing through your system, which eventually shifts your entire immune environment toward chronic inflammation. From a systems biology perspective, this molecular chaos completely derails your sleep architecture. It literally keeps you biologically awake, even when your eyes are shut tight. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that this invisible molecular cascade translates directly into everyday symptoms you can actually feel and measure. In fact, if you wear a smartwatch or a fitness ring, you can literally see the autonomic shadow of this dysregulation. You'll notice your heart rate variability, or HRV, gets suppressed for weeks at a time. You'll see an evening resting heart rate that just stubbornly refuses to drop, which totally ruins your ability to get deep, restorative sleep. Your natural day-to-night cortisol contrast just flattens out. That means you're waking up feeling physiologically pre-stressed, and your body might even start desperately clinging to midsection weight. This isn't laziness, it's your biology desperately trying to adapt to a broken thermostat. So how do we actually counter this? Enter the vagus nerve. This is the 10th cranial nerve, and let me tell you, it is an absolute evolutionary masterpiece. Think of it as a rapid, bidirectional superhighway running right between your brainstem and your vital organs, your heart, your lungs, your gut. If the HPA axis is your body's heavy gas pedal for stress, the vagus nerve is the emergency anti-inflammatory brake. Engaging this specific nerve is quite literally one of the most powerful, scientifically validated tools we possess for healthy aging, sleep optimization, and lifelong biological longevity. There's this brilliant insight from Cedars-Sinai that perfectly captures why this is such a game changer. They state, many of the activities that we associate with calmness affect changes in the brain, in part, through increasing vagus nerve activity. Now, what does this actually mean for us? It means that deep breathing, spending time out in nature, doing rhythmic movements, these aren't just fluffy psychological comforts. They are physical, mechanical interventions. By intentionally building these daily habits, you physically alter your neurovisceral axis. You can actively suppress those systemic inflammatory cascades, and you can even unlock peak cognitive performance by clearing out the biological static in your brain. But the science goes even deeper than that. Dr. Stephen Porges completely revolutionized our understanding of this with his polyvagal theory. He showed that our nervous system doesn't just use a simple on-off switch. It actually relies on a three-part survival hierarchy. At the very top, when we feel safe and secure, the ventral vagal branch keeps us calm, grounded, and socially connected. Under threat, we drop into that sympathetic system, the classic fight or flight. But what happens if the threat is completely overwhelming and inescapable? We plummet into the ancient dorsal vagal branch. This is the biological equivalent of just pulling the plug right out of the wall. It's a complete shutdown state, characterized by extreme drops in heart rate and deep psychological dissociation. Obviously, we want to spend as much time as humanly possible in that top tier, the ventral vagal complex. I want you to imagine a highly insulated, thickly myelinated bundle of fibers projecting straight down from your brainstem directly to the pacemaker of your heart. Under safe conditions, this exact pathway acts as an active vagal brake. It is continuously, physically pressing down on the heart's natural rhythm, keeping it nice, slow, steady, and calm. So feelings of safety literally and mechanically slow your heart rate down through this biological wire. It's absolutely incredible. So the golden question is, how do we manually pump this vagal brake to prep our bodies for sleep? Well, the magic number is 6. Research consistently shows that breathing at a rate of roughly 6 breaths per minute maximizes something called respiratory sinus arrhythmia. Doing this naturally engages your baroreflex, which are basically your body's internal blood pressure sensors. This creates these massive, beautifully synchronized oscillations in your blood pressure and heart rate. It's literally like taking your autonomic nervous system to the gym. You are actively building profound stress resilience and flexibility. If you ever need an immediate, right-now intervention to force your body into that calm state, you can use a brilliantly simple technique heavily researched by Dr. Andrew Huberman at Stanford. It's called the physiological sigh. Let's actually walk through it together right now. First, you take a deep, full inhale through the nose. Next, you add a sharp, quick second inhale right at the top to fully pop open the tiny air sacs in your lungs. And finally, you exhale very slowly and completely out through the mouth. Doing this just 1 to 3 times provides immense, actionable value to your biology. It works instantly. The precise bioengineering of why that sigh works so well is just fascinating. When you make your exhalation longer than your inhalation, it mechanically triggers your body to release a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, directly at the heart's pacemaker. This rapid chemical release instantly overrides the fast, shallow breathing pattern characteristic of the fight or flight response. You are effectively hacking your autonomic nervous system in real time. You're forcing that vagal brake to engage, instantly restoring your physiological baseline of calm. Now, knowing all of this, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, great, I'll just meditate for an hour a day and fix my broken nervous system. But is meditation always the ultimate cure for everyone? We really need to challenge some assumptions here, because when you dig into the science, it reveals a deeply counterintuitive and frankly widely misunderstood phenomenon known as the meditation paradox. Check this out. A rigorous, systematic review looking at over 6,700 participants found that meditation actually has an 8.3% prevalence of adverse effects. That's a pretty significant number. Among those who experienced negative side effects, 33% reported heightened anxiety, 27% reported depression, and 25% experienced cognitive anomalies like severe dissociation. Because mindfulness practices are such potent biological modulators, they aren't universally benign. For some people, forcing that kind of absolute stillness can actually cause sudden and severe autonomic instability. Let's uncover the hidden mechanisms behind this paradox. Why does this actually happen? Well, for individuals with subclinical PTSD or hidden unresolved trauma, absolute physical stillness can actually be interpreted by the deep brain as a massive threat. This triggers extreme sympathetic spikes, which can even cause severe physical nausea. In other people, meditation causes an excessive parasympathetic response, leading to sudden drops in blood pressure and actual fainting, which is medically known as vasovagal syncope. This brilliantly illustrates that nervous system regulation requires a highly personalized, trauma-sensitive approach. There is absolutely no one-size-fits-all cure here. So, if prolonged, seated stillness isn't always the answer, what is? while the key is consistently signaling safety to your body through simple, moving daily rituals. Things like temperature grounding, just holding a warm mug of tea or splashing cold water on your face, can instantly shift your state. Taking nature breaks, engaging in rhythmic movement like a brisk walk, or using the 5-4-3-2-1 sensory grounding technique are incredibly effective. These small, scientifically backed habits accumulate over time. They quietly whisper to your brainstem that the world is secure, allowing your body to naturally downshift out of that chronic hyperarousal long before your head ever hits the pillow. Which brings us to our final thought. The scientific evidence is incredibly clear. Your nervous system is not just some static, hardwired cable. It's a highly dynamic thermostat, and you hold the dial. The tiny daily choices you make to regulate your autonomic state directly dictate your emotional resilience, your sleep architecture, and ultimately, your lifelong biological longevity. So, how will you signal safety to your body today to build a rock-solid foundation for deeper rest tonight? Take a deep breath, maybe try out that physiological sigh we talked about, and start resetting your baseline. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.